from India. He's a partner of Soul Excursion. He's gonna talk about the overview of birding in India. But personally, I've been to India several times, and I always had fantastic experience there. Birds are excellent. So, Lydia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Victor. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. And let me briefly introduce myself. I am from India, from western part of India, in Gujarat, and we run a company for birding excursions across Indian subcontinent. And today I'll be giving a brief presentation about variety of birding experiences you can have across India. So I'll start the presentation. Visible to everyone?
Yes, excellent.
Okay. Yeah, so Indian subcontinent is a paradise for birders, bird photographers. It has more than 1,300 species of birds, and if we broadly categorize Indian subcontinent, it is not just India. It is India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Maldives. So these are the countries which form a geographic region known as Indian subcontinent, and we have big mountain ranges across on the top borders. On the western side we have Hindu Kush, and on north side we have Himalayas, and on the east we have Arakanis. So these are the great mountains which border the entire northern region of Indian subcontinent. And because of that, here's some. Hello. Okay. So because of these mountain ranges and extreme variations in the climate, we have very different kinds of habitats. So from sea level up to 8,000 meters, and from dry dry deserts all the way to the rainforest, all the kinds of habitats are present in the Indian subcontinent, which gives rise to very diverse bird life and other wildlife in the Indian subcontinent. So it is a very promising place for anyone, not just birders, but anyone who has interest in natural history, wildlife, forests, those kind of things. So if I give a brief introduction of Indian subcontinent, we have more than 1,300 bird species, out of which almost 87 are globally threatened. They are threatened or critically endangered as per the IUCN, and more than 50 species are near threatened species. Over 180 species are completely endemic to the Indian subcontinent, and out of which around 70 species are restricted range species. That means they have a home range of less than 50,000 square kilometers, and they are very much focused in some endemic bird areas. So Indian subcontinent has got 13 endemic bird areas which are very rich in endemic species diversity, which includes the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Assam and Eastern Himalayas, Myanmar lowlands, southern Tibet, Western Himalayas, Western Ghats, southern Deccan Plateau, and central Indian forest, and Sri Lanka. So if I show you the map, is my cursor visible on the map?
Yep.
So this is the Indus Plains region. This is the Western Himalayas endemic region. Then we go towards the Eastern Himalayan endemic region. Then we have Assam Plains, the Myanmar Plains. Then we have Western Ghats, Sri Lanka, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and the central Indian forest. So all these highlight red color. They are very important endemic bird areas.
Ja, ik stuurde hem op Facebook een berichtje.
Klopt, ik heb er in Facebook even een foto geplaatst inderdaad voor al die mensen die...
So we have more than 650 important bird areas which are designated as important bird areas by BirdLife International. So we'll start zone wise. So first we start with the western region. This is the place where I belong to. Gujarat is my home state, and Gujarat and Rajasthan both are westernmost states of India, and they are mainly very dry and arid regions, and we have scrub forests, deciduous forests, deserts, and very long coastlines, and very plain savannas and grasslands. So these regions are rich in lot of migratory birds, and they are part of the Central Asian flyway also. So in winters we get lot of migratory bird species which come to various wetlands of Gujarat and Rajasthan. And for birders, and especially for those who are interested in photography, these are very nice destinations because we get very plain, vast horizons and very good lights. So for photographic interest, these are one of the best places to visit. And the best time to visit this region is from November to March. That is the winter season in India, and that time these regions are full of migratory birds, and that's why it is best time to visit these places. So these are the list of some important bird areas which are part of this Gujarat and Rajasthan part, and we have the Run of Kutch and the Little Run of Kutch, and then we have coastal regions of Jamnagar and Gir forest, and then we have central Gujarat where we have a lot of wetlands in Gulf of Cambay and around Ahmedabad. Rajasthan we have Ranthambore, then we have Desert National Park, and then on the northern side also we have Bharatpur and other wildlife sanctuaries and birding areas. So this is Gujarat and Rajasthan, and you can see most of the part is very dry. So that's desert and scrub area, and then remaining part is wetlands and deciduous forest. And if we talk about bird life, it has got more than 500 species of birds and around 30 globally threatened and 15 near threatened species. And some of the most threatened species include the great Indian bustard, which is less than 100 individuals in the wild now. And then we have forest owlet, which was considered to be extinct, and then now it is rediscovered. And we have beautiful lesser flamingos and other migratory waterfowls. We also see sociable lapwing, which is also critically endangered species. We have lesser floricans, which are also critically endangered species. So we have some nice, migratory birds, and also some resident species which are very rare and critically endangered now. And we have two restricted range species, which includes best population of forest owlet, which is in southern part of Gujarat. So this is a brief about Western India, and these are some of the images you can see. In winter we get huge numbers of migratory cranes and geese, and you can also see some vultures and a lot of raptors and other species of cranes like Sarus cranes. We have very good population of Sarus cranes in Gujarat, so we can expect this kind of birds and very good photographic opportunities in Gujarat and Rajasthan region. And not just birds. Gujarat is also good for a lot of mammals. It is the only place where you can see the Asiatic lion. Gir National Park and Sanctuary is the last home where you can see Asiatic lion. Then we have Indian wild ass. We have desert fox. We have beautiful grasslands where you can see black bucks and Indian gazelle and striped hyena. So Gujarat has got a lot of, and if you go to Rajasthan, you can also see the Royal Bengal tiger. So apart from bird life, it also has some beautiful mammals to add on. So for photographers and birders, this is a very nice combination. So moving from Gujarat, we go to Ladakh, which is a dry, similar habitat but extremely cold. So Ladakh is like a cold desert. It is part of the Tibetan plateau. It's across the Himalayan ranges, and that's why it has got some very unique biodiversity and habitats. So it has got beautiful, and the landscape of Ladakh is extremely beautiful. We have Zanskar rivers and Indus rivers flowing from the Himalayan mountain ranges, and some unique mammals and birds can be seen in Ladakh. So if you are going for bird watching or birding experiences, then best time is June to September, which is like the spring time or monsoon and post summer time. If you go for mammals, then go in January to April, because that is the time when it's very cold. It is very harsh climate, but a lot of mammals come down from the hills towards the down lower altitudes, and that's why the sightings are very good. So these are some important regions. You can see that it is very undulating terrain. It's part of the Himalayas and Trans-Himalayas, and Sokar, Nubra Valley, Hanle, Ule, these are some important areas for birds and wildlife in Ladakh. So Ladakh has got around 200 bird species, out of which 7 are globally threatened. It is a place where this beautiful black-necked cranes, they breed in the wetlands in Ladakh, and also the bar-headed geese breed in Ladakh. Apart from that, you can see many species of partridges and snowcocks and those kind of things, a lot of assenters, golden eagles and other eagles. Very unique species is ibis bill, which is a very unique monotypic genus, and lot of species which you can see in the Eurasian region, you can also see in Ladakh, because it's connected to Eurasian region across the Himalayas. And it is also best place to see snow leopards and other Tibetan mammals, which is red fox, a lot of marmots and pikas and voles and Tibetan gazelle, Tibetan wild ass. So all these Tibetan ungulate species along with snow leopard you can see in Ladakh. From Ladakh, if we come little downwards to the Himalayan region, so there we have Western Himalayan and Himalayan foothills region, which is also one of the most important endemic bird areas and very rich in bird life. So there we have high altitudes from like 5,000 meters, and also coming down towards the foothills where we have very nice grasslands and meadows. So this kind of variety of habitats are there in the Western Himalayan region. And the best time to visit that Himalayan foothills is October to March. And if you want to visit the high altitude regions, then you should go from March to June, because that's post winter, when the snow starts melting and a lot of birds are active during that time. So if you go to this region, we have the some parts of Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. These are the 3 important states where we have some very nice wildlife sanctuaries and birding areas, and especially the Great Himalayan National Park and some places in Uttarakhand are extremely rich in bird life. So this area is good for a lot of different types of pheasants and laughing thrushes and a lot of other finches and those kind of very colorful bird life in the Himalayan region. Especially the Great Himalayan National Park is famous for Western Tragopan, which is one of the rarest pheasants in the world, and very few people have photographed it in the wild, which you can see here in the bottom, red colored bird, that is Western Tragopan, which is endemic bird to the Western Himalayas, and the Cheer pheasant is also endemic species of the Western Himalayas. Also the spectacled finch in the center, that is also endemic to the Western Himalayas. So overall, it has got more than 650 species. Around 26 are globally threatened, and around 50 are endemic to the Indian subcontinent. Out of that, 10 species are exclusively endemic to the Western Himalayan regions. And it is part of the Western Himalayan endemic bird area. So these are some of the species that you can see, some beautiful nuthatches, a lot of varieties of woodpeckers, laughing thrush. If you go towards the water bodies, you can see a lot of forktails and a lot of different varieties of parakeets and flycatchers and thrushes. So it is a very colorful bird life region. And then from Western Himalayas, we move towards the eastwards, that is Eastern Himalayas, which is the most bird-rich area in Indian subcontinent. It has got more than 700 species of birds, and which include, this area includes this region, which has got 7 different states. It is also known as 7 sisters, which is Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, Sikkim, Meghalaya, Manipur, and Assam. So these are the 7 states, and some part of the West Bengal is part of this Eastern Himalayan region, and also Bhutan, which is a different country but which is also part of Indian subcontinent. So this region is extremely rich in bird life, and the Eastern Himalayan region can be further, classified into Eastern Himalayas, Patkai and Brahmaputra plains that are in the lower areas, and they are more like grasslands. So we have got from high altitude mountains to grasslands to riverine plains. This kind of habitat is there, and that's why it is very different bird life, rich flora and fauna is there in that region. And best time to visit is again October to March, because that is the time when monsoon has gone, so it is more easy to see the birds, and birds are very active. If you go in monsoon period, there is very heavy rainfall and very difficult to see the birds. So if you see, there is a huge list of wildlife sanctuaries and birding areas in the northeastern part, and it's one of the most diverse bird lives in Indian subcontinent. So you can see beautiful varieties of hornbills and lot of parrotbills and lot of babblers, scimitar babblers, many species of storks and pheasants. A lot of varieties of birds are there, and over 800 species and 50 globally threatened species of birds can be seen in northeastern region. And out of which 30 are endemic to the Indian subcontinent, 25 species are exclusively endemic to the northeastern region. So these 25 species can only be found in this northeastern region. And just a second. Yeah, sorry. So Bhutan is also part of this region, but as it is a different country, I have kept it separately. And it is a very small country, but from like in a stretch of 200 kilometers, you can go from 0 meters altitude, 30 meters altitude, almost up to 7,500 meters. So there is a huge altitudinal variation, and that's why there is a huge variation in the habitat, and that's why it is extremely rich in bird life. Also, a lot of eastern Himalayan species which you see in northeastern regions, you can see much better in Bhutan, because Bhutan is culturally, Buddhist, mainly Buddhist, and that's why very less hunting and species. Birds are very friendly. I mean, they come very close compared to some parts of Northeast India, and that's why sightings are much better compared to Arunachal, and you get some very nice photographic opportunities. Along with birds, you can see some beautiful monasteries and gompas and other, culturally also Bhutan is a very rich and beautiful country. So Bhutan is one of the best place for birding in eastern Himalayan region. So it is divided into mainly subtropical, mid-mountain and alpine forests. And out of these mid-mountain forests and alpine are one of the most important bird habitats where a lot of endemic species are staying. And best time is again November to April, which is winter to starting of monsoon. So if you see the map of Bhutan, I have listed some important bird areas. I have not listed many areas in the eastern Bhutan. Although it is very rich in bird life, it is still very remote and very hard to access, and very few places of stay are there. Otherwise, it is also very rich area. But most of the areas which are shown here can cover almost all the species, including all the endemics of Bhutan and eastern Himalayas. So you have Wat's trogon, which is an endemic species of eastern Himalayas, beautiful blood pheasants and tragopans, and then beautiful nuthatch, Himalayan cutia. So some very colorful and important Himalayan species can be seen in Bhutan, and over 600 birds in the small country, and 20 globally and 17 near threatened species. 13 species are exclusively endemic to the eastern Himalayan region, which can be seen in Bhutan. So you can see some really rare species like the white-bellied heron, which only like 50 birds are like 50 birds are surviving in wild. So this kind of extremely rare species, and monal pheasants and a lot of other babbler families like minlas and yuhinas and scimitar babblers, barbets, laughing thrushes, a huge variety of tree species of birds, and very colorful. And from there we move in the southwestern part of India, which is Western Ghats. which actually starts from Gujarat and goes to Maharashtra, Kerala, Karnataka. But for birding, we mainly concentrate on the extreme southwestern part of the Western Ghats, which is Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. So these three states form very rich Western Ghat mountain ranges, and they are known for a lot of endemic species, not just birds, but there is a high variety of endemic amphibians, fishes, plants. So it is one of the biodiversity hotspots, UNESCO World Heritage. And best time to visit is November to March. Most of the birding places in India, best time is November to March. And just a second. So these are the three important states, and most of the birding areas are bordering Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu, where we have Arabian Sea on one side, and then we have Western Ghats mountain ranges. So we have very diverse habitat in that area also, and we have almost over 500 species, out of which 25 are globally threatened, and Western Ghats has 80 species endemic to the Indian subcontinent, out of which 28, highest number of endemics birds are there in Western Ghats. So 28 species are exclusively endemic to Western Ghats, like this Kerala laughing thrush or Nilgiri wood pigeon, or Malabar parakeet, Malabar hornbill, white chick barbet. Most of the species shown in this slide are endemic to Western Ghats. And there are also some nice mammals, and some are endemic to Western Ghats again, like Nilgiri thar or grizzled giant squirrel or Malabar giant squirrel. So these are some important species, and of course, tiger is also there in some of the parks like Periyar. We have some nice parks where there is a very good population of Indian wild dog, which is dhole, and some endemic species of macaques are also there. So mammals are also added attraction whenever there is a birding tour in this region. Then we come to the extreme east, where we have a southeast, where Andaman and Nicobar Island, which are much closer to Java, and compared to mainland India, it is almost 1700 kilometers from mainland India, but part of Indian subcontinent and Indian territory, and very small scattered islands. We still have some remote islands where modern mankind has not ventured, and we have tribes which don't allow people to go there. So they are that remote, and still there are some islands which are accessible and extremely rich in endemic birds and a lot of other endemic species. It has got tropical evergreen forests and coastal areas and mangrove forests. So a lot of endemic species of birds are there in this region. So if you see this map, this is the main island, Great Andaman Island, and where we have some areas which are good for birding. And then we have Little Andaman Island. And then there is a small point over here, which is Narkondam Island, which has got one unique species of hornbill. But unfortunately, Narkondam is not accessible for people. So it is a very protected area. So there are 200 or plus species of birds, out of which 28 species are endemic to Andamans and Nicobar Islands, and around 12 of them are globally threatened. And it is part of the Andaman and Nicobar endemic bird areas. But since all islands are not accessible, so you can, out of this 28, maximum you can cover is 17 species of endemic birds and other birds. So like this Andaman and Nicobar endemic species. This is Andaman scops owl, this is Andaman tree pie, this is Andaman kakushrike, Andaman nightjar. Then we have Andaman rongo. So all species are endemic to Andaman Islands. And then last is Sri Lanka, which is again a different country, but it is part of the Indian subcontinent, and as again it is an island. Lot of endemic species are there in Sri Lanka also, and apart from endemic birds, it has got some very nice sightings of leopards and Asian elephants and bears, sloth bears. So Sri Lanka is also very good for mammal sightings. So it has got more than 400 species, out of which 10 are globally threatened, and 57 endemics to the Indian subcontinent, out of which 30 are exclusively endemic to Sri Lanka. So you can't see them anywhere, even not in India, which includes Sri Lankan hornbill, Sri Lankan tree pie, Sri Lanka jungle fowl, Sri Lanka the Serendip scops owl, then the Sri Lankan barbet. So all these species are exclusively endemic to Sri Lanka. So that's all about the bird life of Indian subcontinent and little bit about us. So we design birding trips all across all these regions, and basically we cater to very specifically designed tours where people have their own wish list or something like that, and we try to cover all those species. And we started our company as as I am involved in vulture conservation, and we all of us started doing vulture conservation together in Gujarat and some parts of India, and slowly we formed this company, and still we do a lot of conservation activities, and whatever profits we make, some of it goes for vulture conservation and other conservation activities in Gujarat and other parts of India. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aditya.
Excellent.
Excellent talk.
Excellent.
Yeah, because you just not cover only India. It's about the subcontinent, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, but you didn't mention Nepal.
Yes. He didn't mention the Nepal.
Nepal is part of Western Himalaya. Yeah.
We did it last time in Nepal.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
That's why I omitted that part, because Nepal was already done specifically.
Exactly.
So we can always combine Nepal, India, Bhutan.
Nepal and India go together.
Yeah, Andrew just asked that. Can it go all the way from India to Bhutan?
Sorry?
Andrew just asked. Andrew, you missed your question.
Oh, yeah. So your itinerary takes you from Northeast India into Bhutan, or do you have to fly directly into Bhutan?
No, till now we are allowed to go by road. So if you are in
overland.
the Northeast, you can cross the border with permits.
Overland, yeah. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But only Indians, not international visitors.
International also. So see, for Indians, we don't need visa. But for international, you need to take visas of both countries, and then you can cross by road also.
Oh, okay.
So we also plan that kind of tour. Like we had American clients who wanted to do some parts of Northeast and Bhutan. So they had prior visas for both the countries, and they could cross by road also.
Oh, excellent.
Okay. So any questions to Aditya?
Maybe he can close the screen so that we can see all.
There's a question from Spain.
Okay. Yes.
Alejandro Palomo.
When is the best time to visit this place is mentioned?
Can you read the question?
When is the best time to hold on? When is the best time to visit these places mentioned?
So each slide I had given best time for every region, but mostly it is from November to March, except a few places here and there. But still I have specifically mentioned in each area.
But generally speaking, November to March, right?
Yeah.
Yes, excellent.
But then if you want to go to northern part, so maybe it's good up to June, July also.
Yeah, depends on the rainfall. Like if you are in Northeast India, rainfall is very early. So March is still okay. But if you go in June, July, it is very heavy rainfall. But if you go to Ladakh, even September, June, July, August is very good. So
yeah. That's where you're going to see the black-necked crane breeding, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Oh, there's a follow-up question. Yeah, from Mike, I think. The best times to go November to March. Is it because it's cooler that time of the year, or is it breeding season, or what?
So one, it is cooler.
Okay.
Second, that is the time when a lot of migratory species also come. So number of sightings of migratory birds is more, and a lot of, like, we have two types of migrations. That is winter times. A lot of high altitude Himalayan species come towards mainland and southern parts, and also we have species flying from Siberia and other Central Asian countries. So that time number of bird species is maximum.
Excellent.
And some Nasa part, the grass would be a little lower as well that time.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
From your presentation, I saw that you mentioned a lot on the Himalayas. That means the northern part of India. So my first question is, of course, I love to go to these places. But my first question is, how is the safety factor in this region? Because at this time, from news report, it's not so stable around this area. There are a lot of conflicts. So what is your opinion about this?
See, most of the wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, as such, there is no issue in terms of safety. Of course, if there is some real border conflict going, then there may be issue, but they are in very remote areas, those borders. So when we go for birding, we don't go to very extreme remote border areas. But like Nepal, India, Bhutan, till now we have had very good relationships. So we have no issues in those areas. In Ladakh, right now we have some issues. There is some conflict between India and China, but that is in very remote region of Ladakh, where anyways civilians are not allowed. So birding regions are most of safe areas.
Excellent. Victor, there's a question from Johnny, Uganda. Shall I read it?
Yeah, go, Johnny.
Johnny is here.
Johnny, are you with us? Or shall I read your question for you?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Hi, Johnny. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you doing all?
Yeah.
Hey, you have an Arsenal t-shirt, yeah?
Sorry? Yeah.
You're wearing an Arsenal t-shirt, yeah?
I've just been playing football.
Okay, go ahead with your question.
Yes, I wanted to know how long the itinerary is and how many countries you covered during that trip, the presentation you've just given. Thank you.
How long itinerary in?
Exactly, yeah, because I saw that you joined a few countries, and I don't know if you combine everything in one trip or it's a split.
No, you can combine, but then it will become too long. But usually, if you come to India, we suggest 12 to 15 days itinerary if you want to do a longer tour, or 1 week if you want to do a short tour. And 12 to 15 days, you can cover 2 different regions maximum. If you go to Northeast, then you can add Bhutan to it. But if you're doing Western India, then you can do Bhutan with that. So it's a very huge country, and a few more countries I have added. So at least 12 to 15 days are required for a decent birding tour.
Okay. And my other name is Raja. So when I come, I need to see the good birds, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Raja.
Oh, yeah. That's my other name, Sebastian.
Good.
Raja.
Good.
Yeah, I think 14 days would be, let's say 15 days would be good. So we will see how to make a plan. And I've always wanted to come to my India,
Excellent. I'll join you.
Yeah.
But well, it really depends on how much time do you have? Because you have a month, you can do all over India.
And how much money?
Like 2 weeks, just a part of India.
I think really Sebastian's point is the right one. How much money? You see?
Yeah, I've been to Gujarat with Mike Liu.
Yeah.
And we really had a good time there.
And I would want to go to Hyderabad for good food.
Oh, yeah.
You
Food
get to
everywhere
Hyderabad,
in India, you will find very nice food.
but not spicy. I don't do spicy.
No, less spicy also you can get. Spice is always option. You can add as much as you want.
But
Okay,
if you're vegetarian, you know, Gujarat is the very best place to go.
Yeah,
good.
it's true.
Roy, me again, Andy. You mentioned also the tribes. There are some tribes around. That
Yes.
means when we enter these forests or something, you have the tribes. Do the tribes control the region? Do we need to have special permission from them before we can enter the national park or the forest?
See, all the national parks and forests are controlled by governments here. Only there are some community reserves which some tribes are, given charge of, and all these permissions and all we take in advance. So if we plan a trip, let's say for Northeast India, then you require inner line permit and few more permits which we take in advance. So you don't have to do anything once you come. And some regions where the tribes are very strong and you are not allowed to go, that is a different thing. But otherwise, most of the birding regions, all the national parks and sanctuaries are taken care by the central forest government. Central government forest department.
And my last question to you, India is a very big country, a large country. So
Yes.
do you yourself cover the whole country, or do you work with other agents to do the tour?
No, so what we have is usually we either we are 3 people in our company who would do birding tours very routinely, and we travel with our guests. But we also take local guides, and so we have contacts in each and every region, because like we don't have our own transportation in entire India. So for that we need our local handling person. So that we have a good network of people.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Is that all? Okay, since there's no more question, we thank Aditya from India again. It was an excellent talk.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah, we learned so much from Aditya about India. And this year has been a very quiet year. So we do this online talk for the preparation of next year. So guys, do your homework, do your paperwork, and let's go to India, Nepal, or somewhere else. All right?
Cambodia.
And next week we will have Mr. Alfredo Scott from Costa Rica.
Oh, good.
So let's go to Costa Rica next week. Thank you, Aditya, again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And see you next week.
Everyone.
Thank you very much.
Picture.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
One last thing we're gonna do. We're gonna take a group photo. All right. So the trick is that look to the camera, smile, and don't move. Oh, Andrew, you're too close.
Andrew, you are in the camera.
All right. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night and good morning.
We'll do again. We have Anel. We'll do it again.
What?
Okay.
Oh,
Let's
again.
do it again. One time. All right. Okay.
Comb your hair.
Comb your hair. The camera and smile. 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
night.
Bye.
Thanks for the talk.
Good night, everybody.
Aditya.
Thank you. Good night.